Hey guys, what is going on? GreenbergGaming here. Today I'm going to be talking about whether the DCEU is in trouble. And I think the answer is there's a cause for concern, definitely, but the DCEU is definitely not in trouble. So why are people saying that the DCEU is in trouble? Well, both Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad have had significant second week drop-offs. So people are saying, people aren't going back to see it a second time. People don't really like these movies, they're not interested in these movies, so they're not going back and seeing it a second time. And also their critic reviews have also been really bad. I think Suicide Squad is sitting at around a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is really unjustified. I don't think the movies are really that bad. And most people who I've talked to about Suicide Squad have said, it's got its flaws, but it's not as bad as critics are making it out to be. So I think the DCEU is not in trouble because of its very name. It's called the DC Extended Universe. We're only 3 movies into, I believe, the 12 movies we're supposed to get through 2020. So I think at this stage in the game, to say that the DCEU is in trouble is pretty stupid. And also to consider that the movies have had pretty decent sales. I think both movies, Batman v Superman may be in the green, I'm not sure. Suicide Squad I think is still in the red. I think there was around a $500 to $700 million budget for the movie, and I think the reshoots caused a lot of extra money that had to go into the movie. But I think ultimately the DCEU isn't in trouble because we still have a ton of movies to come. We're looking at Wonder Woman next year, Justice League as well. We got Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, Batman solo movie, another Man of Steel solo movie. So I think you can't possibly say this early on in the game that they're in trouble. And I think Wonder Woman's coming off a great Comic-Con trailer. Justice League had a pretty decent trailer. And I think there's still hype behind the movies. As long as people are still excited to see these movies, they're going to come out and see them. I mean, Gal Gadot was one of the highlights of Batman v Superman. And I think Ben Affleck was a great part of Batman v Superman as well. So people are excited to see those movies with these actors in it that I think did a good job in the Batman v Superman movie. And you also have to keep in mind that DC isn't only just relying upon the sales of the tickets to make movies as well. You have the apparel, the merchandise. They're not solely relying on sales of the tickets to make money for these movies. There are other outlets at which they make money, and I think from a studio executive perspective, the biggest cause of concern is money. If these movies aren't making money, they're not going to continue to make them at a loss. But I think as long as we have the merchandise, the apparel, and there's still hype going into the next movies, then I think the DCEU is still in good standing, even if their movies aren't absolutely amazing. There were pacing problems in both Batman v Superman and in Suicide Squad, and I think that's largely due to studio meddling in the movies and forced reshoots to try and get a certain theme out of it, a more happy vibe. And I think those reshoots are the problem. I think the directors should be allowed to make the movies that they want. But again, from a studio executive's perspective, they're still making money off these movies, and as long as they are making money off these movies, the DCEU isn't in trouble. I think these are kind of just some people trying to make up a story here about the DCEU, If we're sitting here after Justice League, after Wonder Woman, and these movies are making a loss, they're sitting at 19% on Rotten Tomatoes, then I'd definitely be on board to say that, the DCEU is in trouble. But I don't think 3 movies into a 12-movie plan with all these, great movies, I think hopefully we have coming up soon. I'm not ready to just say the DCEU is in trouble, screw the DCEU, hop off ship. I think these people are kind of blowing things out of proportions. But that's it for this video, guys. Let me know in the comments down below if you think the DCEU is in trouble. I'm interested to hear your perspective on this issue. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, click that like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.
What is a secretary?
I go where he tells me to go and I do what he tells me to do.
Oh, well, where I'm from, that's called slavery.